Hey, folks, welcome to the Generational Gap. John, how are you doing tonight?
I am all right.
John is our resident millennial, and he is
Hey, you got it right this time.
hesitantly all right.
Um, I
You didn't
said moderately neato last time.
you didn't
I
have
guess
much
I'm. I
gusto
guess
when you
I'm
delivered.
not unwell.
Well, aren't we all a little unwell?
I'm not unwell. I think.
Yeah, this is Robert with you as well. Welcome once again. Welcome to the Generational Gap. We got a little bit to talk about tonight. Nothing too crazy. Well, maybe a little crazy. It just depends on the angle you're coming at it from, right, John?
Sure.
Sure.
Whatever you say, Robert.
Oh, John, I don't know half of what I'm saying. I think I'm coming down with something.
I
I'll be
think you are
honest with
too.
you.
You're all low energy and shit.
I'm
Get hyped.
usually a little more pumped, but
You
yeah.
are. Get excited. Be like
Well,
this. Go wow.
do a little of the
Excite.
Rocky,
Yeah. Just be
the
like yeah.
Rocky, the Rocky
Dun,
pump and
dun,
fake.
dun, 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 dun,
Well,
dun, 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 dun.
well,
Do it.
I don't often feel under the weather, but when I do, I can usually feel it coming on. You know,
Right.
because I usually have some energy. I have the energy to deliver, not Super Bowl deliver, but I can deliver.
Oh, good segue. I like it.
Well, that's coming up Sunday.
It is.
Are you are you watching? Are you
Yeah, yeah. I'm actually going to a Super Bowl party for Super Bowls.
some friends?
My parents actually going to their house.
Oh, wow. That sounds fun.
Yeah, it'll be all right.
Get out there and see the folks.
Yep.
All by yourself, or do they have people over? Is this a
Oh no, they're
yearly
having like
thing?
a whole party thing. Yeah, it's really cool in their backyard. They have a big like a they got like a pulley system, but they use it to pull up this tarp that doubles as a projector screen. So it's like a huge, was like 19 by 16
Feet?
projector screen.
Yeah.
So they can play it out in the back porch, and people could be out there and drink and smoke and whatever they want.
Nice, nice.
Yeah,
Yeah, that sounds like fun. So, why haven't I met your parents? Well,
because we're not dating.
I guess why haven't I met your father? But
Yeah, we're not dating. That's why.
oh, is that it?
Yeah.
But it would be nice if I was able to go to this Super Bowl party, right?
Oh my God. Just invite yourself everywhere.
Well, I mean, it's a Super Bowl
Yes.
party.
It is.
Of course, I don't watch football anymore, and
Right. Why would you?
really, if I do watch the Super Bowl, if I take any part in it, I'm only there for the commercials
Yeah, the commercials are
because
going to be good, I think, this
I've
year.
lost touch with football.
Yeah, I
Over.
couldn't care less, really.
Do you
I'm
you
just
don't?
going for the social aspect, hanging out,
Yeah. So,
getting free
is it
booze.
do you have friends there, or is this friends of your parents?
Oh, they're like friends of my parents and coworkers and whatnot.
So you're just the the only kid there.
No, probably not. I
I
mean, I
mean,
guess if you want to call me a
I mean,
kid,
well, in the
because I
sense of
mean,
who's invited to the party, it sounds like, right?
yeah, yeah, I guess I would be.
Like you're just there from a familial angle, while everybody else is there from the capacity of being your parents' friends and acquaintances, right?
Right, exactly.
Right.
Yeah,
So who the fuck do you talk to? Do you know these people though? You know some of these
some of
people?
them, some of them are family friends and whatnot.
Some of the milfs from the old neighborhood?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah? Yeah. Is that it? Is there a
Yeah, I
story
don't know.
there? Is there a
I
story
don't know
there?
what you're talking about.
Is there a story there?
No,
Okay.
no stories.
Would you tell me if there was?
Yeah, absolutely. I would have no problem telling stories. Be
But
fun.
as I said, um, I only watch the Super Bowl for the commercials, and
Yeah.
I mean companies plan all year long to put commercial spots in the Super Bowl and pay some pretty hefty frickin' prices for that too. I have to say,
Oh
right?
yeah.
I haven't looked to see what the average payment this year is, but I mean they've reached points as high as $5 million for ads.
Oh yeah,
and
crazy.
for not a lot of time either, right? Um, so you would think that paying that kind of money, if you have the money, you probably be able to get your commercial up there, right?
One would hope, yeah.
Right. But it appears that CBS has denied a commercial from going up, and
You should silence your phone.
this one bothers me a little bit, and I'm not sure how. Well, I'm kind of curious as to your take on this, John, because I don't know. It speaks a little bit to fair market. I don't know. Public domain. I don't know if that falls into this or how it works with companies in advertisement space. But CBS denied a Super Bowl ad that was going to be focused on medical marijuana because it goes against their broadcast standards.
Mm.
So here we go. Um, from a free market standpoint, do you have a take on this?
Well, I mean, obviously, it's CBS's choice as to which ads they run and which ones they don't. Obviously, I would like them to run an ad like this, but I mean, I'm not going to tell them they have to.
Do you think this is more geared towards? Let's consider Gillette.
Hmm.
Is this social pressure? Are they concerned about social pressure? If
I don't
they
see why, when most people are pro marijuana legalization in one vein or another.
so
You know,
well, it's like Midget B says they have the CBS has exclusive Super Bowl coverage, right? Um,
yeah,
but if a if there is this much public support, which we know because upwards 30 or 31 states have medical marijuana legalized.
yeah,
Okay, so we're speaking to the majority, right?
yeah, uh huh.
Um, but also, okay, so when does advertising? Where do we cross the line between free market and public responsibility? Do they not have just as much um, responsibility to run an ad from a medical marijuana company as they do a beer company?
No,
Um,
they have no
they
obligation
just
to run any ads of any kind. They can run whatever they want. I mean, don't get me wrong, I want them to, but I don't see why this would be an issue. Other than, we want them to run that sort of ad.
and see the only thing I can come to is moral outcry. Um, especially so. I don't know, and then it comes down to that line from media sources because I would assume that CBS, the big networks get government subsidies, since they do run, emergency alerts, this, that, and the other, make themselves available for that. Um, do we start to
Hmm.
cross a line where we get into public domain with advertising? It's not
No,
that
I
it's
don't. I don't
just
think
big
that's.
bucks, but
I don't think that's the same thing. I mean, they have, yeah, they have every right to play whatever ads they want. I mean, what other ads have they denied? Do we know?
off the top of my head, I haven't heard of any, but of course, my guess is that this is going to get more media coverage than
Right,
Joe
because of the
Blogan.
nature of it.
But now, so if CBS as a network, and I'm going to go ahead and put it out there that I do not know for a fact. It would just take a little bit of research, I guess, to see what they've shown. But if in their shows they have in anything that they've shown on TV, if they've glorified smoking marijuana at all or allowed movies, maybe they ran a movie, something like Half Baked, and they put that on because they show movies on their channel sometimes as well,
Sure,
right? Um,
sure.
does that not already? Does that not contradict what they're saying as far as being having those broadcast standards? Would they not show anything that did that? Should or
Yeah, I
sh
mean, it would absolutely be hypocritical if they have. I don't know if they have,
right?
but still, I mean, it doesn't matter what reason. They don't have to give a reason.
I mean,
I
it's
mean,
not.
whatever
I mean, it's one of
whatever
those.
reason they give,
It's one of those things that I'm. Of course, it's making a huge. I don't think it's making a huge leap to assume that they, like NBC, ABC, CBS, these primetime networks have shown movies and television
Sure,
shows that focused on marijuana that had a pro attitude towards marijuana,
sure.
whether medical or recreational.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I don't it I know it's not a freedom of press speech issue to a certain extent. It,
I mean, it's
that's the
not
line
though.
it gets
Yeah.
close to. They're like, okay, no, we want to quash this agenda by not allowing it to be promoted on our, once a year Super Bowl broadcast, and
Yeah, I
that
don't.
bothers me.
I mean, yeah, obviously I would like them to run the ad, but again, I mean, they have no obligation to do so.
And knowing at the same time that they will promote alcohol
Okay.
during the Super Bowl, which you know is
Yeah.
hypocritical in and of itself that the one's legal and the other isn't. Those of us who are pro marijuana understand why there's not a lot of difference between the
Now,
two.
hang on. I'm pretty sure they did run a marijuana ad of some sort a few years ago. Not 100% sure on when, but I remember that being a big thing that they actually did it.
The CBS did.
I don't know if it was CBS, but it
Hmm.
was whoever was, streaming or broadcasting, I guess, to use the older term, or broadcasting the Super Bowl. So
So
I'm pretty sure. Let me see.
my I guess the next thing I would wonder is if this is this says that CBS broadcast standards specifically state that it cannot accept cannabis related advertising on any of its channels or affiliates. So I wonder if that's a stipulation of getting government subsidies that you not promote something in that vein. Because when you
Mm.
have something that specific in there, cannabis related advertising, when you have something that specific in there, somebody had a hand in that. You know what I mean? It's not like drug related advertising or Schedule One drug related advertising.
Well, it is a
But
Schedule One drug,
right.
but I know what you
But
mean.
it's not
Yeah,
like anybody's going to be up there doing a cocaine ad. I get it.
right.
But
Yeah, see, I can't seem to find when it was before because everything I'm looking at is talking about this year. So I'm having a hard time finding the old one, but I'm pretty damn sure
it would be
that they
interesting.
had that they had one a few years ago.
I just don't like it when this approach is taken, John. I don't. You're the media, and I understand advertising and everything, but you'll be getting paid to put this promotion up, right?
Yeah,
And again, this this concern with public pressure, social pressure, that
I mean, do you know that there's social pressure?
well, it goes against their standards, and the standards anymore are not set by necessarily from an internal moral clock. Most people's from the standpoint of business, in my opinion, most of those standards are being set by the pressure of public opinion.
Hmm. But I think public opinion is mostly pro legalization. Like even if they're not pro smoking it, even if people who don't smoke it say, yeah, that's stupid that it's illegal.
Well,
I mean, I think
let's
that
not,
it's a
but let's
majority
not.
of people.
Well, I guess we have to look at the pressure that just on, for instance, my question is that stipulation in there pursuant to the government subsidies that they may or may not receive, um, and that's contingent upon it. Is it have something to do with other advertisers, big tobacco advertising or big alcohol advertising
Big
on there?
tobacco can't. It's
They
illegal
used to
for
be
big
able to.
tobacco. Yeah,
Used
they
to.
used to, but they
But
can't
so
now.
there's no telling how long that rioter's been in there about cannabis either, right? So that could be
Right.
from back in the days that big tobacco was promoting on television. But I don't know. Do we call it big alcohol? Is there a big alcohol? We never hear the words big alcohol, right? But you got to think there's some out there.
um, I don't know. I mean, there's definitely some conglomerates, but I don't think there's like some kind of big pro alcohol agenda.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess you don't have to really worry about that, do you?
No,
Because it's only killing people. I mean,
nah, it's fine.
no, it's fine.
It's
There's no
fine.
big deal. Just ask big tobacco,
Yeah, they know too.
right? So I don't know, John. I don't like it. I guess they haven't crossed a line by denying it, but I think that I don't think it represents the will of the American people, and
Sure.
I kind of feel like if you're going to be a major news network, CBS, they all news is their mainstay, right? That's their
Yeah.
thing. Um, I don't know. You have a responsibility, even in your advertising, I think, to target all demographics. I mean, how many pot smokers do you think are watching CBS?
Probably not many.
Like three at least.
At least. Yeah. Yep.
Do you think? Yeah, well, yeah. I don't know. Will they lose viewers? They've got the Big Bang
I
Theory. They've got
I
the
think
Big
they're
Bang.
already going to lose viewers just because like less and less people are watching the Super Bowl or watching football in general. So,
Well, that's true.
yeah.
CBS only hope is CBS All Access, and STD is a total failure. It was their flagship.
Is
STD.
that Star Trek
Uh,
what is it? What's the new one? The Discovery? I think it was
Discovery.
Discovery. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't watch it, but
He loves going
yeah.
off about Star Trek.
Oh, they got a spike in subscribers for postseason NFL and college games. Interesting because I know less and less people are watching football. Maybe not college football, but I know the NFL is losing viewers. I think it's just not as interesting of a game anymore
What,
since they
football?
put all those yeah, they put all those gay like safety rules in place.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of mamby-pamby shit going on in football
Yeah.
from that standpoint. But they've
Like, oh, we're
they've
getting concussions. Like, wah, dude, fucking go cry into your $10 million, house. I don't know. Fuck them. They should be getting more and more head injuries. They should make it less safe. They should just play without helmets and
right,
pads.
right.
Yep.
Back to the good old days.
Well, no, they
Um,
at least had leather hats back then.
well, I'll tell you
I'm talking
this:
about nothing.
they're lucky, is what they are, that they're playing in Atlanta this year, or they're somewhat lucky, because they could be playing up fucking north,
Oh yeah,
and that's some cold
that would
stuff up
suck.
there right now. Um, Fucking California NPC refs, the superb owl. I
The
like it.
superb owl. Yeah.
But it is cold up there. Got really fucking cold this week, like major cold. We talked about it a little bit on Monday that it was coming through, and it sure enough did come through. It was cold enough to prompt the Trump Twitter machine, and I thought this was kind of funny this week, so I wanted to share this with you, John. I'm sure
Oh yeah.
this. I love it when our illustrious orange leader
The great orange one.
puts a nice tweet out there. So, per Mr. DJT, in the beautiful Midwest, wind chill temperatures are reaching minus 60 degrees, the coldest ever recorded. In coming days, expected to get even colder. People can't last outside, even for minutes. What the hell is going on with global warming? Please come back fast. We need you.
Yes.
We need you, global warming.
That's right. That's amazing. Oh my god.
Talk about trolling in the. I mean, people are getting gut punched with a fucking blizzard up there, and he's trolling their asses. Oh
Well, he's
my
not
God.
trolling them. He's trolling the
Well, yeah,
retards, you know.
he's trolling everybody. What do you want?
Yeah.
Oh,
That is a funny comment. Oh my
that was
God.
a that was I
Oh,
don't
you know
know.
what? Let's read some of the salt
Mm,
coming from a bunch of lefties, especially the let's see.
troll in chief. I know a fat guy.
I actually don't. I don't know if this particular fat guy at least.
I don't know this particular fat guy either.
Nice new guy. What's up, man? Let's see. Uh, next he'll tell Australia to build a wall to keep the heat out,
Right? And the sea
and the
people
sea
are going to
people are
pay.
gonna pay for it. That's amazing. Oh yeah, there's a lot of salt in these comments. Oh man, that's funny.
Nobody salts in the comment, John.
That's a great, yeah. Oh, that's awesome. So yeah, what else do we have though? Unless you want to read more comments.
Oh, about Trump? No, or
No, I'm
the
saying what else do you have in general?
oh, in general?
Yeah.
Nothing. He's been having fun with tweets, but nobody wants to hear what he has to say. I mean, nobody pays attention. Have you ever that is one thing though. I mean, just gets massive amounts of comments on shit he says. People just love to hate him, and most every I'd have to say 95% of what he gets on there is pure salt.
Oh
Just
yeah.
people just ripping him, just constantly. Um,
Yeah, there's not going to be a salt shortage in the U.S. for many a year
no, no,
due
no,
to him
no.
opening all the salt mines.
But I do say
Where-
he does get borderline with some of the stuff that he says. Um, just like calling people names and just I don't know, backhanded allegations in what he calls them and says to them. And I'm just like, there's, just like talk that he's used Twitter for witness tampering. I don't know. I don't know about all that, um,
Yep.
but anyway, hey, did you have a crime a day that you wanted to point out? I know you had that.
Oh shit. Sure.
I have that
Let me
pulled
pull it
up
up.
right here.
Oh, you have it pulled up. Perfect. Because I don't.
Yeah,
So yeah, let's.
I just wish you would tell. These are laws that are in the federal law. These are federal law,
Yeah,
right?
these are felonies.
Felonies in federal law. This one
Yep.
makes it a federal crime for a non-falconer who's temporarily caring for a falconer's falcon to fly the falcon for any reason.
That's
You
right.
you don't fly another man's falcon. I don't care what you're doing, John.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fucking hilarious. It makes you think. First of all, that had to have happened, and it had to have been a problem for it to become a felony,
A
right?
felony, no less, right?
Right. It's not even like just, hey, you probably shouldn't fly another man's falcon. No, you will go to federal prison.
It would be interesting to know when these were put into effect.
Yeah.
Also, that would be the thing. Is there anything about the article,
That's on the
whatever,
tweet itself.
any of this that gives like any kind of indication when it was put out?
1 sec, I'll look it up really quick.
Uh-uh. What? I thought it was spelled Falcon. What? Did you invite Midget?
Did I invite him?
No, I was talking. He's misspelling words. I think he's trying to on
What a
purpose.
dick.
I think he's trying to be a troll.
I have something about Operation Falcon, but I don't think that's
Operation
what I'm
Falcon.
looking for.
Let's see what other crimes are there. It's a federal crime to have a picnic without cleaning up after yourself in the falls of the Ohio Wildlife Conservation Area. Damn it!
Well, that
No
actually
more
makes sense.
picnics without cleaning up. Did you know it's a
That makes sense.
federal crime to sell a roach clip?
No,
Yeah.
that's
But
interesting.
it is not a federal crime to sell an alligator clip.
That's funny. Alligator
It
clips.
is a federal crime to sell a bottle of liquor with something obscene on the label.
Yep.
Yeah, that what was it? I thought that should have kicked in whenever I saw that. I want to say was it one of the vodka companies had a was it a what the fuck was it, a salmon flavor? Something like that. I don't know. It
Oh,
was really fucking weird flavor of vodka. I'm
sounds
like, that's
gross.
just fucking obscene,
That is rather obscene. I would be
right?
offended if I
Right?
saw that.
You know, somebody did a bacon flavored vodka. I was like, seriously?
Ugh,
Did you know, John, that it is a federal
sounds
crime to
gross.
defraud someone out of their plutonium?
Yeah, I mean that's probably safe.
Have you ever had anyone try to defraud you out of your plutonium?
I can't say that I have, but if they defrauded me successfully, then I wouldn't know, right? I mean that's
And one more that I think is important. It is a federal crime to import a hedgehog without a permit.
right. I mean that has to do with like, you know,
Sega?
uh, that has to do with like diseases and shit like that.
Nothing to do with Sega?
Probably not. Sega.
So, in looking around on Twitter, so there's a lot of tweeting going on a very specific subject right now,
Well, hang
right?
on. So my favorite one
Oh,
of those
oh,
crime a
got a
day
favorite?
tweets, yeah, was the one where it was like, it's illegal to shoot a fish from from an airplane.
Oh, this, yes.
That
Federal
yeah,
crime to shoot a fish from an airplane.
from an airplane.
From an airplane. Shoot a fish from an. That's what I said.
All right,
I'm,
just
I'm
yeah,
with you. Yeah. Is there an echo? Is this on?
echo,
Hey,
echo.
there was some confusion on this. This is a good example, though, of where one word can make the difference in how a sentence reads,
Right.
and it's the word "at." So, is it a federal crime to shoot a fish (parentheses
Yeah, there was no
as a projectile from an airplane, or is it a
right.
federal crime to shoot a fish that's in the water from an airplane? Where if we had just said makes it a federal crime to shoot at a fish from an airplane.
Right. That's all they would need to do is add that ad. Yeah, let's scroll down one. I like this. America became a fascist nation so slowly I didn't even notice. Yeah, I mean, what kind of world do we live in when a man can't shoot a fish from an airplane? And that's funny too. The little gif. Sorry, I'm sorry. I thought this was America. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm I'm just wondering, what were they? What was someone doing? I guess maybe this is a way
Shooting
to
a
get
fish
like
from an
trout.
airplane.
Maybe they were sitting up there with a fucking I don't know. What's one of those big helicopter guns? I mean, or I guess you can't really attach them to airplanes, or can you? I don't know. I guess
Yeah, the
maybe they were
what is
scoping
it?
it.
The shit with this AC-130.
Oh yeah.
I think is what it's called. Yeah, the Spectre. Fucking awesome, badass gun plane. It's basically a flying platform, like a flying gun platform.
So what if the plane shoots? What if you have a gun mounted on the plane and you fire? Technically, is that still you shooting
I think that's still yeah.
from an
'Cause you're
airplane?
operating the
Because
yeah, you're operating the
technically,
gun, which is on the airplane.
well,
I think that
what
would
couldn't you
count.
get away with? I was shooting at a fish with an airplane. See,
Well, I mean, I don't think
it
so.
didn't
I
say
don't think that's how
anything
that
about.
works.
See, it says shooting a fish from an airplane, or even if it was shooting at a fish from an airplane. I think that you could get away
Fly fishing. That's funny.
fly fishing.
Good one, yeah. Fly fishing.
Is that so? That's what it is. I always thought it. I don't know. I thought those
Yeah.
little fucking
I thought you
flies
put
on
on those
boats.
like nerdy fucking waders, whatever. Those shitty little pants that like you would wear in kindergarten. Little suspenders and shit.
I hear it takes forever to catch a fish unless you get really lucky.
Or if you shoot them from an
Have
airplane.
you ever been fly fishing, John?
No,
No.
never have.
I've been fishing. I've been deep sea fishing. I've been regular fishing, but I ain't never been fly fishing.
Me neither.
I don't even
Never
like.
been deep sea fishing
I don't
either.
even like flies.
No, not a fan.
They're stupid. So that's crime a day. It's an interesting Twitter to follow.
Yep,
The
sure is.
the Twitter lingo.
Go follow
Um,
them, and then while you're over there, go follow us at the Gin Gap P.
Speak the language, John. Speak the
Yeah,
language. All
tell the
right.
truth, brother.
Tell it, brother. So anyway, there's some tweet storming going on right now over, as I'm going to dub it, BlackFaceGate.
BlackFaceGate. That's
Yeah,
not very creative, but
it's the best I've got. You just put gate on the end of stuff.
yeah,
That's
no,
what you
it
do,
works.
right? Comicsgate and what was that other one?
Gamergate.
Gamergate. Yeah, so you just
Yep.
put gate on the end of stuff. So we could go with Blackgate fence. We could put a fence on the as opposed to a gate.
I suppose.
Yeah, I like blackface gate. Anyway, so there's a lot of blackface is becoming the new let's go find it and call it racism kind of thing going on right now. They called out the Covington boys about this, right? They were like,
Yep.
calling them racist because they had been in blackface or what was actually just blackout paint for a basketball game. But apparently, what's his name? Northrum?
Yeah, Governor of Virginia.
Virginia's Governor Northam has been called out for something that happened over 30 years ago while he was in medical school. And he he was either wearing blackface or he was in a KKK outfit. He was one of the two people
Right.
in the picture, right? Um, so a lot of conversation has been going on about this. He's a racist, blah blah blah. It doesn't matter. He's a Democrat. He's a racist. He's a
Yep.
Democrat. He's a racist. We've seen people tweeting. Caitlin Bennett's, oh, I guess the Democrats say the GOP is one step away from racist whatevers, and then also Democrats. So there you go. Because this one photo proves that all Democrats are racist.
Yep.
Um, but I was looking at some stuff on it, just getting a little slightly trying to familiarize with it, and I came across this thread by Ben Shapiro, and it's some arguments that have come out about this also, and everything seems to be coming pretty fast because it's relatively new in the news, right? But
Hmm.
people are talking about it, and one of the things that's being brought up here is something that I'm a long-standing advocate against is this digging in your past and bringing out any little bullshit you did and trying to contextualize it in the present day as present day this, that, or the other antisocial behavior, as opposed to the past. And the point that people have made is that he has been in the public eye for 30 years and has pushed to help people and have a positive influence in the politics that he's been playing in, through his leadership, trying to do the right things. And Ben Shapiro posted this tweet, and he says, "Here's the thing. I'm not sure his argument is terrible, but after targeting Covington High School students and Brett Kavanaugh over his high school yearbook, Democrats have no leg to stand on here."
Right. I agree with that.
Now, does that simply mean that now anything can be said negatively about Democrats, and because every action has an equal and opposite reaction? So, if they pulled out Brett Kavanaugh's high school yearbook, they're fair game for anything that's happened in their past. Have we opened up this war to go on now?
Well, yeah.
Uh,
So it's more about pointing out the hypocrisy and the fact that they're just looking for anything that they can get on someone on the right. But when it comes to themselves, they're going to try and they're not going to criticize. They're not going to they're not going to hold themselves to the same standards that they try to hold their political opponents. And that's the point about bringing this up and showing it is to show that hypocrisy. I mean, I really don't think that most people care, and most people aren't going to judge him, his entire career based off of that one photo. I
Well,
think it's just, again, it's showing the hypocrisy.
true. And the biggest some of the issue that a lot of people are having is that he's never apologized for it. And it doesn't matter if he spent over 30 years doing positive,
Hmm.
pro American, pro people, following those kind of agendas. It doesn't wipe it. None of that matters because he hasn't apologized for this thing that he did. And Shapiro asked this question in this, in the back and forth in this tweet. Was he ever asked about this? Or
Right.
is it his duty to unburden himself of a 34-year-old yearbook page publicly so as to satisfy judgment from people who don't know it exists? I
Mm.
mean, and as he says, it's a serious question if we're to establish a standard of repentance. So there's going to be this standard of repentance. That's a perfect term for it that we expect from all politicians going forward, from everybody in the public eye, ultimately.
Yeah. The problem is you can't apologize because even if he was to apologize, his career would be over. I mean, it's not going to have any effect on him whatsoever. In fact, people will actually respect him more for not apologizing than they would if he actually, did apologize and, bent the knee at the altar of social justice.
I mean,
He's just going to be ostracized still, either way.
even the original, the original piece that he was commenting on, that Elliot Schwartz put out says, he says his whole life has been about exactly the opposite, and that's what you need to examine, not something that occurred 30 years ago. While it's in very poor taste, I would think, damn, this thing jumps around too much. I hate Twitter.
Yeah. Jesus.
You see what it does to me? You see how I have these issues? But
Think that's
anyway,
you.
he goes on to say, he was in the military at 18, and if he went back and looked at the first 2 years of that, as much of an idiot as he was, um, yikes, he wouldn't want any of that coming out, and that's a great point. I mean, everybody who's cast, what was it you said earlier off mic? He who is without blackface cast the first
Cast the
stone.
first stone. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, is
Way
that?
to way to out me.
I mean, ultimately, is that not what it comes
Hmm.
down to? It's like, who doesn't have some stupidity in their closet?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, are you free and clear of anything that could be miscontextualized as racist, feminist, ageist, something? Right?
I plead the fifth on
Exactly.
that.
As would anybody else if they knew they were about to be outed. And
Yeah.
so ultimately, this is it's this kind of social pressure, that is, what's this going to do to his career? Where do we go in his career now? You know, we have seen too many public figures not be able to recover from things like this.
Well, again, the big problem is when they apologize is when they can't recover. If you notice that the people who don't apologize are still around.
Well, let me ask you this.
Hmm.
Is it considered apology if one just comes out and says, I'm not, when they say I'm not the same person as I was back then, and while that was in poor taste, it's not representative of who I am now. Why must they apologize? Why can't their current actions speak louder than their past actions?
And that's how
Why?
it should be.
I don't understand where we've gotten to that this is the case, because this is going to, are these the first volleys in the true social civil war that's going to erupt in this country? Is that what this is a precursor to?
That's what people keep saying, but I don't see it. I don't know. I don't see anything about like a civil war happening.
Well, a lot of supposition I've read has said that, any civil war that happens in this country will start through social media. Social media
Yeah,
will be
sure.
used to organize and
Yeah.
prepare and plan and do these different things in regards to any kind of civil war. That it would be socially driven, although, that's easy to handle, though, right? I mean, Big Brother just steps in and shuts it all down. I'm assuming that capability is available in, in
You
our
think they have like a
leaders'
big?
hands.
You think they have like a big master kill switch?
I don't
Just
know.
be like,
Do they,
stop
John?
all the social media.
I mean,
No,
is there a
I don't think so.
way? Is there somehow, some way that the government has a kill switch for that without dropping an EMP?
The only way to do it would be to get rid of the First Amendment and then start taking them down. Start taking down the sites legally.
Well, does the First Amendment make the internet protect the internet from government shutdown?
Well, yeah, it stops the government from telling the platforms what they can and can't do,
So then,
who they can and can't, put on their platform or allowed to have an account, things like that.
it is the perfect tool for driving any kind of civil war, any kind of revolution, any kind of action in that way. To be organized across the country, to have uprisings, to have, attacks, whatever the case may be. Social media, you know, that would probably be the downfall of our government, wouldn't it? If they couldn't shut
Yeah,
that
if they
down.
tried, well, I mean, I think it'd be the other way around. If they did shut it down, then they would lose a ton of support.
But if we're talking about a situation like that, is that not the one chink in their armor? Is the having to, well, I guess they would rather have the tool available so they could try and catch anything that was
Right.
going on. And
That's more likely what would happen. They would just
yeah,
use the
that makes
Patriot Act
sense.
to spy on and catch people and arrest them.
Yeah, I guess that makes more sense.
Yep,
So actually, then it becomes a better tool for them, doesn't it?
absolutely.
Hmm. I don't know,
Hmm.
John. It's a scary proposition, but these are the kind of things that it's okay. So this is, I thought doxing was bad, but this is the kind of thing. This is career-ending stuff that people are trying to put forward, and
Oh yeah,
agendas that they're trying to push now. And
it's nothing new. It's been going on for a few years now.
yeah, but it's so much different these days compared to what I'm used to. Used to, you had to go for a smear campaign through commercials on TV. Now
Yeah,
it's, and then it always comes back to this question: how much of this is orchestrated by hidden parties? It's like I said, the caravans coming up through Mexico. I you would have to you I would have to see proof that it wasn't orchestrated by a heavier hand. Someone from within the United States, in our government, even. You
it's
know,
probably Putin.
I mean, this is how you get agendas put forward, right?
Yeah,
Is you
it's
put the
Russia.
fear, you build the
Russian
fear.
lobster farms.
Russian lobster farms,
Yep,
nice.
that's what it is.
Do you like lobster, John? I don't.
No, I'm not a fan
Um,
of seafood at all.
so it's but when you talk about things like this, so when we talk about conspiracies and strategies, and something else has happened that I want to talk about a little bit, and that's that the FBI has stormed Roger Stone's house and arrested him.
Yeah.
Do you remember here? You heard a little bit about this, right?
Yeah, yeah. It kind of got memory hold pretty quick, though.
Yeah,
No one's really talking about it.
well, I think there's, for me, the larger issue is twofold. One, the one thing that stands out about this is that our friends over at CNN were first on the scene. In fact, so much first on the scene that they were there before the FBI and had cameras set up and prepared to tape everything that went on. So now the claim is that they saw activity at the courthouse that was similar to what you normally see when someone is being indicted. An arrest is going to be made, and the assumption was it was going to be Roger Stone. So they hauled ass and they went to Roger Stone's place to catch it on film. Others believe that it was FBI coordinating with CNN and letting them know that they were going to be making this arrest. So my question is, is that acceptable? Do we want that?
No, of course not.
Is that good, bad, or ugly? I mean, does this go on quite a bit, that the media is alerted to something like this happening? Typically, you wouldn't expect that, right?
Right. Yeah, you really wouldn't. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to think about it. I mean, it's kind of odd that, CNN was already there.
Well, and there's where it comes in, because we already know that CNN is kind of like the thorn in Trump's side, right? He's not a fan of CNN.
Right.
And in that same vein, he's also not a fan of Mueller and the investigation that's going on there, right? Is this... The second point I wanted to ask you about is if you see that this as a potentially strategic move by Mueller to make public this grand, in a grand style, the arrest of Roger Stone, because of some either trying to manipulate Trump, manipulate the situation with media coverage like this, or if there might be something larger behind the scenes and he's wanting to draw public opinion to it.
I don't know. I don't know if it goes that deep.
I mean, almost everybody else that's been arrested in this during this investigation, they've pretty much known that it was going to happen. And yes, it was public when they were, being taken in. But they were given a heads up, we're going to be arresting you. This one, they do it early in the fucking morning. They bring in monstrous amounts of FBI agents. I mean, there were a large contingent of FBI, more than a dozen FBI agents to go in and arrest this one man, right?
They probably need to shed some excess, funds from last year's budget before the new budget came out. They're like, well, we got to get rid of some of this money. So they just, I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I would have done.
And CNN chomped at the bit. They got this. In fact, I have the video here. I'm going to go ahead and play it real quick if you haven't seen it. When they go in and arrest him, because of course it was big, bold CNN breaking news, right? Oh, they had the lock on this one. They were excited. Here we go.
This is CNN breaking news.
Boom.
And the breaking news this morning, the FBI has arrested Roger Stone, the president's political advisor. Exclusive footage we're looking at right now from CNN as the FBI arrives at Roger Stone's residence in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, taking him into custody. We understand he will be arraigned in Fort Lauderdale later this morning, indicted on 7 counts, 1 count of obstruction, 5 counts of making false statements, 1 count of witness tampering. Again, they arrived before dawn there, before 6 a.m. or just after 6 a.m. A dozen officers were told. The FBI agent shouted, "FBI warrant," and you can see it all play out right here.
This is just remarkable. It's just remarkable to watch, what they call
They're
Okay,
scary.
that's it. FBI, open the door.
Yeah.
And now they're about to say another warning. FBI warrant. This is called, you know, the grab shot in the vernacular, and it is remarkable to watch this all unfold.
You can see Roger Stone
With
right
Roger
there,
Stone.
a little bit behind that door.
Well,
And
they're
yes,
loving
standard
this.
operating procedure for the FBI to
Oh,
show up,
yeah.
heavily armed,
And
and
right
The
there.
grab
like
shot.
this. But they didn't do this for other people connected in the
Yeah,
investigation.
there's
So
so
it is
many.
remarkable that they did this
So many
without
cameras.
warning, without any indication to Stone's lawyers beforehand that this would happen. We don't know also if they executed a search warrant on that.
I mean, as Ann just told us, the reason.
Now, the only thing I will say is a lot of that footage was replayed segments pieced in. It was almost like they were looping through. It looked like it was looping through like a third time. So it's possible that they are right, that they're not lying, that they went on a hunch and were there, because it doesn't look like they just have long successive footage there
Right.
ongoing of the whole thing. But I don't know. They were sure patting themselves on the back. Oh, we got this, we got this, we got this. But
Yeah.
that compared to what happened with the other ones, and it did seem excessive. It's like, okay, why did his house need to be raided this way for this arrest when everybody else has just been given a heads up? This is when it's going to happen. We're going to take you into custody, blah, blah, blah.
Right. Yeah, I don't know what makes him special.
NPR, the article here that has the video is NPR just trying to determine if it was excessive. They have a couple of short and long answer here. The short answer, no. Law enforcement agencies often conduct early morning arrests or raids with large numbers of officers and tactical equipment. So that's kind of normal. The long answer, Republicans, including President Trump, say the FBI took unusual steps in the Stone arrest, and they want answers.
Yeah.
So I don't know. John, is I've seen someone referenced to it as a Gestapo-style raid in the arrest of.
I don't know about all
Stone
that. That's
here.
a little hyperbolic, but yes, I see what they're saying. I mean, whatever. This kind of thing happens all the time to the ordinary citizen. So, I mean,
yeah.
if it's okay to do it to them, then it's okay to do it to Roger Stone.
I think there was more to it than just a simple arrest, in my opinion. I think there was a public angle, public opinion angle that was being played here, one way or the other. I'm just not sure who it was by, who wanted to make this a grandstanding event. Because even if CNN hadn't been there, this would have been called out as, okay, was this excessive? Why was this different? Is it too much to ask? Is that something we don't need to worry about? It's just like, okay, he was arrested. It doesn't matter. I guess ultimately my question is, are we being manipulated?
Oh, without a doubt.
And do you want to be manipulated? And if we can see the manipulation so easily, shouldn't we, be able to call it out, or shouldn't we be able to be heard on not wanting to be manipulated?
Absolutely. That's why we're here doing this show that no one watches.
Well, I'm just curious as to why all these fuckers were lying to Congress in the first place if they didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, I mean, but they have to lie. Otherwise, the actual things that they did wrong will come out. We can't have that.
Like just working for the wrong person? Is that a thing?
I mean, just regular Washington corruption, right? All the things that happen that everyone knows is happening is kind of an open secret, but if you lie about it to Congress, you're done. So they had to lie about something else instead.
Well, it's...
Didn't he, wasn't the lie something about a forgotten email or something like that?
Yeah,
An email
well,
that he
there's...
forgot about.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, it's quite a few things. Part of it, I believe, was that that Trump Jr. made a call to his father before the right before the meeting at Trump Tower with the Russian lawyers.
The Russians.
But apparently that's untrue. That call didn't happen. So it seems that like it's things that would implicate Trump are being called out as lies now. You know, it's like okay, so all the things that
Well, I mean, are they actually lies or
right? So all the testimony
if they're
that
actually lies, then if
right.
they're actually lies, then there's no problem.
But I'm not. So I'm not sure if they're actually lies or if he's just finding ways to slide those things off and push them off. You know, nope, this didn't happen. There it goes. I'm not responsible. Arrest everybody you need to arrest, but none of this sticks to me.
Right.
Nothing sticks to me. He's got that. He's got those duck feathers. He's got duck feathers.
He's got that mafia mentality, you know. Take out all the underlings. Just don't let them get to me.
Do you think he'll let his son be sacrificed, or will he pardon his own son?
He'll push his own son into the volcano.
You think he would push his son?
I don't know.
What do you think?
I don't
Seriously,
think so.
I mean, what do you think?
Don Jr. or Barron?
No, Don. Barron hasn't been implicated in anything yet.
Well, no, but I heard something about if you sacrifice a virgin to the volcano god, then good things happen.
You think Barron's
like the volcano won't explode?
You think
Barron? I assume so. He's like 12. I hope he is.
It's old enough.
Jesus. I mean, I guess. Maybe he's already grabbing pussies. Who knows?
I'm just saying. Well, you know, that's so there. You know, but that's a really good question. I mean, you know, it's looking like there's strong potential that he is going to have both Jared Kushner and Trump Jr., a son and a son-in-law, who could face issues here, like face indictment.
Yeah, but again, they're rich, so like, does it really matter? They're gonna spend 3 weeks in the naughty corner, and then they're fine. Nothing's gonna happen.
You don't think that somebody somewhere is going to want to make an example out of, if not Donald Trump Jr., at least Jared Kushner?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think there's anybody that wants to make an example out of them if they can't get Trump?
It's going to be like a big to-do, you know, doing the whole like court proceedings and all that. Then if they get sentenced to however many years it is, they're going to do 3 weeks and they're going to get out. And it'll be fine. No one's going to care.
So why wouldn't he just pardon them?
He doesn't need to. It would be worse if he pardoned them than just let them serve their 3 weeks and in a nice cushy, white collar jail.
You know, then, they would. They could.
He's not going to general population.
They couldn't give Trump Jr. just 3 weeks.
Yeah, they could.
No.
They sentence him to way longer, and then he gets out in 3 weeks.
I mean,
that's how these things work.
The public outcry, wouldn't that be a bad thing?
No one would care.
Nobody would care?
No.
Wow. Is that what we've become?
Yeah.
Because
it's all about the spectacle, and there's no spectacle there.
Because he's never done blackface that we know of.
That we know of. I'm sure he has.
If he hasn't done blackface, corruption is no biggie.
I'm sure he does it all the time.
You do?
Probably every night. Just gets some blackface and then hangs out around the house.
Do you think he spanks his wife and calls her mammy?
Maybe. It's kind of specific. Have you seen that somewhere? Do you have the link?
I'm not saying anything. I'm just asking a very off the cuff, general question.
Yeah.
Off mic. Talk to me after the show, John. I'll see if I can hook you up with something.
Perfect.
So I don't know. Is that what it's? It does seem that that's what we've come down to. Corruption is fine. Social issues are the new felony. anymore.
Yeah.
It seems like it's worse for you to have offended somebody.
Well, it's kind of hard for any politician to go after another politician for corruption, because I mean, as soon as they do, then the finger's going to get pointed right back at them, and then it's just this whole shit show of mutual assured destruction. So they kind of have to let the corruption slide and go after someone for something else that's not that they're not also guilty of, that the public knows of.
So basically, they can't get the bacon, so they just run back up to the plate and grab any crumbs that were left there, and that's
Right.
that, right?
Yep.
Taking what they can get. Well,
Exactly.
it's the irony here is, and I don't know that I've told you this yet fully, but I caught myself saying this a couple of days ago to one of the younger girls in the house, and we were talking about the Orange Man, and I was
The Orange Man, whom is bad, of course.
no, I stopped at the Orange Man.
I know.
These moves that he's made. I talked about Social Security a little bit. That his impact on the economy has been enough to forestall the tippage in Social Security by another year or two or more. Which I begrudgingly have to admit is a good thing. And I keep adding to this list of positive things that he's done. And I caught myself telling her, if we took the world out of the picture, if we just got out of everywhere else and did our own thing, kind of went an isolationist path, a nationalism path, as it were, for internal policies, for handling this country, I would consider voting for him. If it was that perfect world scenario, if we weren't having to deal with the rest of the world. But once you bring world politics into it, then he's got to go, because the last thing that we want is something stupid happening in the world, right? And I caught myself saying that, John. I was like, God damn it. Here I am actually saying that I would vote for this man were it just about internal policy.
You'll get there. You still got another year to go.
Robert, whatever, look at North Korea. Yeah, I'm just, we can look at North Korea.
But I mean, the difference is, though, if we were to do that, we could actually have socialism for realsies this time. It'll work, guys, I promise. This time, it'll work.
I understand what you're saying, Midget, about North Korea. Yes, he went to North Korea, and yes, on the surface we have this whole arrangement worked out. But I'm not 100% secure in what happened there. Yes, we're de-escalating Syria, mainly our position there, and I'm glad for that. I want us out of countries. Anything he's doing to get us away from other countries and more about America, then I'm okay with that. I don't want to be the world's police. I don't want us. Well, you say global politics is going well, but when it's all said and done, we're still back and forth with crosswords with Russia. And are we friends? Are we entering another Cold War? We're pissing off China, one of our major import-export buddies. We're pissing off people in Europe. We're putting our foot down, and it's from a global standpoint. From a global standpoint, if we're pulling away from the rest of the world, okay. The only caveat I have there that I always say is we do it politely, but. So in that vein, I will point this out, and yes, the list is on CNN, but it's a comprehensive list, and it does just basically lay out some facts, talking about how we are currently actually making moves. A lot of the moves he's making is separating us from the rest of the world in that sense. So here I come to this new fence where I'm like, okay, is he now starting to have an overall global policy that I can start to stand behind? And basically, this list is a list of the different treaties and agreements that Trump has or has considered walking away from, talked about, etc. The main one that just most recently is recently happening is the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty. Now, this was our answer to the Cold War, right? This was the treaty we signed with Russia, as they were the Soviet Union then, to eliminate ground-launched ballistic cruise missiles with ranges of 300 to 3,400 miles. We have accused Russia of violating this, but the treaty is believed by the Trump administration to put the U.S. as a strategic disadvantage with China, so we're pulling out. Now, a strategic disadvantage with China, does that mean Trump wants to have our nukes in China?
I doubt it. No, I don't think so. I think what it means is that if China were to use more than intermediate range nuclear weapons, we wouldn't be able to retaliate as effectively. Even though, I mean, obviously we have ships over there that can fire, nukes, but I mean, I think that's really what it's saying, is that if China were to do something aggressive, we'd be able to respond in kind.
So
not that we should, obviously. But.
That's what Midget says, more like the nukes China is capable of having. So it places us at a strategic disadvantage with China. Yeah, that one's a little, I don't know. It's a little bit of a gray area as to how it's strategically disadvantageous when it comes to China. That does make sense what you say, Midget. John, it makes sense what you say. I think it's more a move to secure maybe secure our standing with China, so that we can put them in a position to be a stronger ally should conflict erupt with Russia. I mean, is that not a thought there? I don't know.
I mean, I don't think China's going to get involved either way. Between Russia and the U.S., I don't think so.
Unless we can find a way to make them beholden to us. So the Paris Agreement, this is the massive climate pact that includes nearly every country in the world that Obama signed us on to. It curbs the use of fossil fuels and helps mute the effects of climate change. Trump said the deal was poorly negotiated. Poorly negotiated. So we pulled out of that. So poorly negotiated, and I'm assuming that, if I'm not mistaken, that was a factor that was a cost factor, right? It was inappropriately putting the burden of wealth on the United States, correct?
Yeah, it's part of the reason why people are pissed off in France right now.
Yeah, because that didn't turn out well for them when they started getting excessive tax on gas, right?
Right.
They had to lower the tax.
That was more of a European Union thing. Jesus, I can't talk right now. But it's more, the EU is doing more taxes on top of what was already agreed upon in the Paris Agreement.
Trump excused it as developing countries being able to avoid the rules. Makes sense. All right, then there's the Trans-Pacific Partnership. This is the massive trade deal meant to counteract China's economic power. Trump ran on a promise to spike the plan, saying it was unfair to American workers. The pact was never officially adopted by Congress. The other 11 nations have carried on without the U.S.
There you
go. So the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Now this, if it was meant to counteract China's economic power, which, again, it doesn't say, this does sound like something that Obama might have put in place. I'm not sure how exactly it was unfair to American workers, but I believe a lot of it has to do with the simple fact that it was driving business out of America more than anything.
Yep.
The other nations have carried on in secret negotiation. Well, they've just carried on without us. Doesn't mean it's a secret. We get to know.
Right.
They'll tell
Secret
us.
negotiation.
Everybody likes us. All right,
Negotiation number 7 will shock you.
So South Korean trade deal, the chorus. Trump renegotiated the deal to cut down on a trade deficit with South Korea. The Koreans put limits on the amount of steel they would sell to the U.S., and the U.S. then exempted South Korea from the steel tariffs Trump imposed on many other countries. So
Bad deal. It's the worst trade deal in the history of trade deals.
No, but Trump renegotiated it, so
I know.
It must be a good deal now, right?
Well, it is now, right? But initially
It's
it
got to
wasn't.
be now.
Yep.
So ultimately, if you know, how do you get away with showing preferential treatment though, like that in that kind of thing? Remove tariffs when they say, okay, we're going to limit how much steel we send. Oh, well, let's take the tariffs off and you can just keep sending. So we capitulate on our hard line. Is that just negotiation? Is that just reworking the deal?
Would you prefer it if he had pissed off the president or prime minister of South Korea, like he has with Europe? Because you give him shit for that.
No,
you give him shit
no.
for, like,
I'm just asking.
giving someone something.
No, I'm just asking. How does that come across? I'm just asking. Is that a weakness on our part to capitulate there, or?
I don't think so. I mean, you have to choose your battles and do what's best, I guess. If it was a good deal, then it was a good deal. I mean, obviously, I don't know that much about it, but.
So the next one we come to is one that it did not go away. This is another one that he renegotiated, as it were. So Trump repeatedly complained that the Clinton-era North American Free Trade Agreement, also known as NAFTA, which remade the U.S. economy, was poorly negotiated and gave too much away to Canada and Mexico. Now, I wouldn't say it remade the U.S. economy. It did do amazing things for the economy. I mean, the Clinton era did show some great economic progress, right?
Yeah.
I think if they refer to remade the U.S. economy, I would think that NAFTA was a big part of being able to achieve a balanced budget, which supposedly Clinton did while he was in office.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is, it was a very, short term.
No, of course.
All the benefits were in the short term, and then they stopped.
Sure.
Stopped being beneficial, and so now is a good time to either renegotiate as he did, or just get out of it.
Sure. So, and of course, it's typical politics. You put a plan into action, which is a slow bomb that's going to blow up and go away whenever somebody else is in the administration.
Right.
Particularly, or hopefully, the other party.
Yeah, exactly.
Its renegotiation, which he achieved this year, is less a wholesale rewrite than an update for the 21st century, albeit with help for dairy farmers in Wisconsin. Also, it got a new name, United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, the USMCA, which is harder to say than NAFTA. The USMCA.
I thought that stood for U.S. Marine Corps of America, right?
I think that's this is how they titled their softball league, the United States Marine Corps Athletics Group.
Ah, there you go.
See.
Yeah.
Now there's the Group of Seven, G7, which formerly known as G8.
G8, which included Russia.
This is the group. Yep.
Go ahead.
This is the group of industrialized democracies created in the 1970s, notably ejected Russia over its forcible annexation of Crimea in 2014. That's an episode less troubling to Trump, who wants Russia back in the room to make it the G8 again. So he hasn't walked away from that, but he does want Russia back in the G8, which is a good tactic, in my opinion, to a certain extent. You want your friends close, but your enemies closer, right? We have
easier to keep an eye on them.
Now, here's one that he has got in place or has signed off on. Trump has not only ended agreements or questioned them. This is a Singapore agreement that was made with North Korea. He also made history by working directly with North Korea. The deal he entered has led to a North Korea pledge to halt its nuclear program, but the specifics are complicated. And I now, of course, that's a CNN spin, but the specifics are complicated. I don't think there's so much as complicated as they are unknown. I mean, do we really? We understood the base expectations from North Korea, but do we really know when, how, what, why, where? That was what was troubling about it, was we weren't given a deadline, giving them a deadline. We didn't have one in place. It was just going to be something that was going to be negotiated. And, back and forth, you see reports and supposed evidence that they are not halting what they're doing. If, in fact, in certain places, it appears that they're still moving forward with their nuclear program. So it's a question of where we're at there.
Yeah, I mean, it's just baby steps. The fact that he was allowed to meet with Kim Jong-un to start with is a huge step. So, I mean, just because, yes, an agreement was reached, but North Korea hasn't followed through with it, doesn't mean it was a failure.
And no, and it's not to say, and in no way am I saying it was a failure. The only thing I'm saying is that I believe the American people have expectations of something like this, and those expectations are,
well, they want instant results.
Yes, instant results. I understand that, but that's not the majority. The majority of people just want to see forward movement on it with some idea. We're a deadline kind of people. We want to know when you set this up. When is this supposed to have happened by? When can we take a sigh of relief and know that North Korea is no longer a nuclear issue? That's why we need the deadline, so we know when we can let our fear abate. The fear that you instilled in us before you had talks with them, scaring us, worrying about this nuclear power, that something needed to be done about. Because he did that. He built the fear.
He did that to you.
He did it for like that.
I remember you being scared of that.
There was a lot of fear mongering going on, and it was a lot of it was coming from the White House through his tweets and through his rhetoric. So that's my point. Okay, you built up a fear in people, then you go over and you make an agreement, but you don't tell the people when they can sleep easy at night. When is this supposed to happen? Yeah. That's all I'm asking, is give us some statistics on this. Give us some numbers that we can work with. But we've never really gotten those. And it's not to say that it's not a step forward. Look at what's happening between North and South Korea. That's positive change, as long as the two aren't getting in bed together and deciding how they're going to split America up once they take over.
Oh, stop.
Not that they could, but, you never know when they're just over there doing a yin-yang thing. The North and South come together, black and white. Now we yin-yang. Now we kill America.
Nice.
That's horrible.
That was awful.
Please address your letters to John.
No, don't. I don't care. They're not going to get read. Well, they might get made fun of, actually. Might read some on the show, make fun of them. So, yeah, go ahead. Send your hate mail.
The UN Human Rights Council, which was began in was founded in 1946, although under a different name. U.S. Ambassador to the UN Nikki Haley accused the 47-member body of a bias against Israel and a failure to hold human rights abusers accountable. The U.S. pulled out of the group the day after the Office of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights slammed the separation of children from their parents at the U.S.-Mexico border as unconscionable. The rotating 47-member body represents a larger group of 107 nations.
It makes sense.
So, what is Midget Beacon? I don't have a mic. Fuck you guys. Did we give him a hard time? Did I miss it? Were you giving him?
I don't know. Well, he's trying to get our attention. Well, I told you how to fix it, and you ignored my text. So,
and Midget, in regard to your question about Korea, I'm speaking from the standpoint of understanding how Americans are. Yeah, this is something that they want a deadline on. If you say, if Obama says we're going to close down Guantanamo Bay, they expect a deadline, and he gave one, and he didn't meet it. But it's these kind of things that, yeah, the American people want a deadline. I mean, you can ask people, would you like to know when North Korea is going to be denuclearized? Yes, that would be a good thing to know.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessary, though.
We plan
not
ahead.
At this point, not at this point, at least.
Oh,
not at this point in the negotiation. You know, you want to kind of, let him hang himself to give him enough rope.
Yeah, that's why it's called an agreement, not a treaty, right? Ultimately. Right. So the United Nations Human Rights Council, we've pulled out of that. The way this read, we pulled out the same day as they called us out for the children being separated from their parents. That's almost saying that we did it in response to that, or that the administration did it in response to those accusations, is what CNN is spinning it in.
I was going to say, are you saying that CNN is like spinning something?
It's possible.
My God.
It's possible.
I perished at that.
Now, of course, that may have been the straw that broke the camel's back. We never know, but ultimately there were other things going on. The UN Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, UNESCO. The U.S. stopped paying dues to the body in late 2011 after the agency voted to accept a Palestinian bid for full membership and now owes approximately $550 million. State Department cited an anti-Israel bias in pulling out of UNESCO in 2017. The U.S. also had withdrawn from 1984 until 2002. So this wasn't one that we were used to being in anyway, because we spent, what is that, almost 20 years not in it.
Right.
Then there's
no one cares about that one.
Yeah, then there's the Iran nuclear deal. Trump ran on a promise to withdraw the U.S. from the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action engineered by the Obama administration and others in the world community, and he delivered in May 2018. He said the deal, in which Iran promised to ice its nuclear program in exchange for eased sanctions, was defective at its core. But the only question I have about this, from my understanding, and we've begun pulling out of that one, it was my understanding that that nuclear deal was working, that Iran was actually stepping back its nuclear program because they were receiving eased sanctions. But then, then we know that there were corporations, Huawei in particular was ignoring sanctions and still giving them stuff. China is still sneaking gas tankers over there, and giving. Are they sneaking gas to Iran and North Korea, or just North Korea?
Well, I know that they're able to trade. They trade with North Korea all the time. In fact, they fly. The only place that North Korea's airline flies is to China.
I was trying to remember. There was something, I can't remember exactly what it was. Last year there was some talk about Iran breaking sanctions, but I don't know if it was just in regards to Huawei or if they were actually calling out the Chinese government for having ignored some sanctions or allowing multiple corporations to ignore sanctions.
Yeah. I honestly don't know that much about the whole Iran deal.
But
that was, I ever really cared about.
That's the only thing I took away from it, was that that I thought was the working thing was that it was reducing the nuclear program in Iran. It was actually being somewhat successful. So I'm not sure how it was defective at its core. And if I remember correctly, it had something to do with the fact that they were still allowed to follow some of their nuclear program, but they were also, they were looking to incorporate nuclear power. That was an avenue that they were wanting to go. Right. But I don't know everything, and it is Iran. It's totally for hostage.
That's right.
Well, Jimmy Carter took care of that, didn't he? Was it Carter that took care of the hostages in Iran back then?
Fuck if I know.
God, I remember being a kid watching those Olympics. But yeah, I think it was Carter. Anyway, NATO. Trump has teased upending the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, which was created to counterbalance the Soviet Union and is one of the oldest and most important alliances the U.S. takes part in. He's a long complainer that small nations don't spend the same proportion of their GDP on defense.
It's true.
Oh,
Makes a good point.
Now, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, it's my understanding that these are the guys that we all sit around in NATO and try to put together, find the diplomatic solution to avoid aggression. Isn't and
no, that's probably more the UN as well,
well, the UN
which has a lot more countries.
Well, the UN focuses more on what socioeconomic issues, things like this, right? Whereas NATO is geared specifically towards, in my opinion, averting war. That was the premise of it, was a joint council that would help avoid wars. Thus the name North Atlantic Treaty Organization. They're about creating treaties and laying down, negotiations between countries so that we avert wars. That's what I always understood their point was.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's to avoid. I mean, the UN was established to avoid another world war.
And I understand. Okay, so if the smaller countries,
was it NATO? Might have been NATO. One of those two.
Yeah.
Were created to avoid a third world war.
That was NATO.
Was it NATO?
Yeah, that's when the four leaders after World War II got together and put this together in 1949. They wanted some way to avert future wars like this from going on. And that's when we got NATO, which I think, so he's questioned walking away from it. We haven't walked away from it yet. But, this is the one. So I'm on the fence about it because, yes, there needs to be peace kept in the world, but we don't need to be the primary peacekeeper either. So this is one that's like, okay, should we pull out? Maybe it's not a bad thing. Maybe it is. The World Trade Organization, finally, Trump has been frustrated by international trade rules the U.S. accepts as a member, and his administration has written a draft bill, not yet introduced, that would seek to abandon key World Trade Organization principles on trade. He's hated having to get approval from Congress and instead focused on things like tariff he can do on his own.
Yeah, that's funny. That totally reads like a CNN or like Huffington Post article.
But
it's like Trump hated having to get approval from Congress.
Well, and that's not surprising, of course.
No.
Everybody probably does.
Right.
But the World Trade Organization, so it's more about the rules that they have in place on trade that he doesn't like. So it's and that's understandable. But is the World Trade Organization not something that you wouldn't necessarily want to pull out of? I mean, or is this the way to become a global free market where it's like, okay, we're not beholden, we can follow our own rules, set our own standards and practices.
Yeah, exactly. The WTO is going to set all kinds of, regulations, things like that. It's basically the government of global trade. I'm not sure exactly what kind of enforcement they have, like if they're able to enforce their rules other than putting sanctions on different countries. But I mean, you would have to get other countries to agree to that, and it would just be a whole bureaucratic mess. And Midget B in the chat there is right. WTO is actually Brexit's best hope right now, because if the European Union wants to put a stop to trade with them, the WTO will stop that.
Well, that's that's something I wonder. Is this not like an organization? So when I think about things like products being produced through sweatshops and child labor, I would think that the WTO and the UN work hand in hand in addressing issues like that, right? And,
I don't know.
And so are those kinds of policies not good enough for why?
I mean, China.
What do we want to do as far as trade is concerned?
I mean, China is part of the WTO, so either that's not a rule or they're just choosing not to follow that.
Do you think that would have a domino effect if we pulled out of the WTO? Other
maybe
major countries would.
Maybe I can't think of too many that would. Can't think of any other good reasons why other countries would.
I guess
not off the top of my head, at least.
I guess it's a matter of if other countries see their policies the same way as more of a hindrance than a help.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So so the real question ultimately is, some of these seem like it's good. Some of it seems like might be bad. Others seem like, okay, need more information to really determine.
Yeah.
But the one thing that kept going through my head was, here I am saying that I want us to shut ourselves off from the rest of the world from an immigration standpoint, from a policing standpoint. So does that mean that I should probably be on board with us pulling out of these major organizations, these global organizations? Is that a step towards isolationism that we're looking at?
I don't think it needs to be. It certainly can be, but I don't think that I don't think it needs to be, right? I don't think that that's the only path to take by, pulling out of these things.
Can we be an isolationist country and get our shit together in that way and still maintain our presence in a lot of these organizations? Or would they...
So it's not going to be like, or it wouldn't be, us shutting ourselves off from the rest of the world. It would be, we're going to negotiate with each country individually, as opposed to everyone as a huge group. And I don't think it's going to make us isolationist. I think it's just going to make us having our own position to come to the negotiating table from.
Well, if we were to initiate a full border close down, right, and we did come out and bring our troops home from all these various places where they reside, would we not be forced out of these groups? Probably. I mean, how is the rest of the world going to take something like that? Because I do see the systematic pulling out of all these different, a lot of these organizations as a way to disconnect us from the rest of the world.
I think it's just more about not allowing these groups to dictate how we handle our foreign policy and how we handle, global economics. Because I think that they do have they're very restrictive on what we can and can't do.
But isn't that the same as saying that we want the freedom to do whatever the hell we want when it comes to humanitarian rights, when it comes to wartime,
Sure.
when it comes to trade? We want to just be able to do whatever we want.
Yeah.
I mean,
I agree with that.
I mean, that's a very isolationist kind of
But at the same time,
stance, right?
It's not saying, well, we're not going to trade with anyone, right?
Well, we couldn't get along without doing that.
Right.
But it's I worry that too much of this would affect those avenues. I mean, if we
Could be, but I mean, they're incremental. Like this, that doesn't happen overnight. So if we see that it's starting to really affect us, we can kind of stop and trying to figure out another way to go about it.
You see us as enough of an economic force that, from a trade standpoint, we could be as isolationist as we wanted to with our own borders. People would still want to cash in on our wealth, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
I could see that. So notice the UN's not on this list, right? So
Right.
Except the Human Rights Council and the Educational, Scientific, and
the
Cultural
UN
Organization, but the UN as a whole, we're still a part of.
Right.
Do you agree or disagree that would if we are looking to remove ourselves from NATO, considering remove ourselves from the World Trade Organization, and we've already stepped away from the humanitarian portion of the UN. Should we not go ahead and pull out of the UN as well, or would that be detrimental?
I think that it's a good idea to have a presence there at least. We don't need to be the leaders of the UN, even though I think the UN the headquarters is in New York, pretty sure. But yeah, no, I don't think it's a bad thing to stay in, just because, if something does happen, there's that whole obligation to, protect your allies in the UN. But at the same time, I don't know, a lot of other countries haven't gone to war when we asked them, even though they were bullshit wars. Talking about like Afghanistan and France deciding to not help us out there. So I mean, it's kind of, I don't know, kind of a hard decision. I wouldn't want to be that isolationist though, to where we just say screw having allies.
Well, it works.
I don't think that's a good idea.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, the countries that are not part of the UN are for the most part countries that do not meet the humanitarian and I guess acceptable levels, standards that the UN has for a country to join them. Basically, in countries like if we were to say like the axis of evil, right? Isn't that what George W. called them, the axis of evil?
I think so, yeah.
So those kind of countries are not part of the UN. I don't know how many countries just abstain from being part of the UN because they don't want to be part of world peace, because that's kind of really the bottom line point to the UN, right?
You must hate peace.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, are we not putting ourselves at a point where we might be asked to leave the UN if we continue to pull ourselves out of everything else?
I don't think so. Aren't we a major contributor to the UN?
Well, we're a major contributor to anything we're involved in. This has always been one of the bitches. But I don't remember hearing anything towards the... Well, wait, did he speak to the UN about money as well, or was it just NATO?
I think it was the UN as well. I'm not sure. I know it was NATO.
Oh, definitely 100%. NATO. I mean, he called them out on the floor of NATO.
Oh, yeah.
You guys suck.
Which is a total Chad move for sure.
But I don't know. I'm wondering if these things won't have the isolationist effect from the standpoint of the rest of the world. I mean, we are, pulling out of the Paris Treaty. That was a big one. That was like, really, America? You're going to pull out of this? You know, I mean, that was one of those where it was like the impact of America pulling out is felt. And then we're looked at and we're scrutinized because of that. Then we say,
I think that was the first thing that he pulled. I think that was the first thing he pulled out of, and so it was kind of shocking that he would do something like that.
Because they did.
No other president has done that.
They weren't expecting it to hit him in the face.
Right.
They were
so
like,
when that happened, they're like, "Oh fuck!"
I thought we were going cream pie on this. I gotcha.
Right. We're in the trade climate.
So I see that, and then we look at NATO. He goes in. You guys don't pay your money. Threatens to walk out. Withdraw from NATO. Looking to withdraw from the World Trade Organization. Pulling out of what arguably is easy to argue could be one of the most important parts of the UN, which is the Human Rights Council. A lot of people, especially our SJWs in the world, will argue that is the most important part of NATO. I mean, the UN is human rights, right? So for us to pull out of that specifically, well, so I keep seeing these, weight against us when we are talking about still interacting with the rest of the world, still playing friendly with them. and it puts me in a very strange paradox. I want us to focus on ourselves. I want to get out of the rest of the world, but
Yeah.
Are these things going to ostracize us from the rest of the world as we continue to move towards that point, which we kind of slowly are, in my opinion.
It's possible. Yeah.
I just feel, I don't know. Are we doing it the
I
right
mean,
way?
So it's possible, but there's also ways to, if we're not doing it the right way, there's ways to change course along the way before we get to that point. So, I mean, I don't think it'll get there. I think we'll see, what's happening before it does, and then be able to adjust, as we need to. And I think we should let the EU start being the police of most of the world, at least. Start letting them be the leaders on the human rights thing and let them just crumble.
So it's probably, if I were to give advice to world leaders out there, I would say that the smartest thing to do is to approach Trump on an individual level.
Mm-hmm.
To maintain a solid relationship between the two countries, that is not necessarily the face of the relationship that is given to the public, as it were. Because I think that what he will put out there in public for bluff and bluster, you see some of the images and some of the responses that were going on when he went over to Europe and dealt with Theresa May and all of that, that he puts this asshole spin on it, in a sense, for want of a better term. He puts this asshole spin on it for the public eye. But what are the relationships truly like? Like, we don't know, what's the spin with Putin? What is their behind closed doors relationship like versus, the back and forth in the public eye? Oh, sanctions this and stay out of there and don't do that and blah, 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 bluff and bluster.
Mm-hmm. It's a stage show, So, I mean, there's no way for, little plebs to know what happens behind the scenes, but
who's a successful?
I'm sure it's different.
Who's a successful isolationist country in this world? Who successfully pulls it off?
Isolationist.
Sweden. How do they do? Sweden does pretty good at that.
Well, they're part of the EU, aren't they?
Are they?
I'm pretty sure they are. I'm not 100% on that, but I'm pretty sure they are. Isolationist country.
Because Sweden was always touted as the neutral country, but I think they finally did come on board with with NATO.
Well, so the funny thing about Sweden is, they've been a neutral country, but they were always like, we'll be neutral unless you can convince us otherwise.
Like if somebody's rolling tanks in.
Right. But no, I mean, they always ask for like ridiculous things to join one side or another,
right?
And then they're just like, no, I'm not doing that.
I mean, if tanks are rolling over,
remaining neutral.
If tanks are rolling in, Sweden's going to be like, dudes, we were always there for you.
I think you're talking about Switzerland, though,
or Switzerland.
Not
Why
Sweden.
do I keep saying Sweden? Oh, because I'm thinking about Absolute. I'm thinking about vodka right now. Sorry, Switzerland. Yes, Switzerland. But Switzerland made a bold move. I want to say they joined NATO finally.
Not NATO. Switzerland wouldn't join NATO. They're not on the North Atlantic or on the Atlantic at all.
Well, is it? Everybody has to be on the North Atlantic for that
to happen? Well, it's the North Atlantic Treaty Organization.
Yeah, but that's just... and the NRA is the National Rifle Association, but they'll let people from all over the world be members.
Right.
I mean, I'm just saying. I want to say, the reason I'm saying that, they did something last year that I could have sworn that they were in talks, looking to join NATO or be involved, where didn't qualify them as neutral anymore. It was like, okay, you're not really neutral now, are you?
Yeah.
But it was more from a security standpoint. But I have to go back and find out so that I can actually tell what I remember. You never think about Switzerland unless you're, needing a knife.
Cute. Aren't they the ones who also guard the Pope? I'm pretty sure they're Swiss.
Oh,
like,
maybe it was
guys.
Maybe it was their joining the UN in 2002. Is what I'm thinking about, because they had just stayed to themselves, and they joined the UN then. Maybe that's what it was. And it was, part of it was, like I said, from a security standpoint, just like, okay, we're not the biggest country out there, and these knives only do so much. They're talking.
Right, you can only open so many bottles of wine, before you have to do something about it.
Yeah, Midget B's right. I know. I figured it out. Switzerland, Sweden, Switzerland. They both start with SWA.
They do.
You're lucky I didn't say swastika country.
You mean Swaziland?
Swaziland. No, that's a real place, isn't it?
Yeah, in Africa.
Yeah, that's different than swastika.
Yeah, slightly.
Yeah, I know the difference. I mean, look, see, this is...
Yeah, this is a swastika.
I do not have a swastika tattoo. Just FYI,
Yeah,
I don't have
just
nothing.
does.
I don't even know what a swastika looks like. I think that's the eagle that all the
You would
Germans
probably
had
draw it
on
backwards.
Huh?
You would probably draw the swastika backwards, knowing you.
I probably
knowing
would,
wrong.
because I don't remember. Are they supposed to be a fan blade that's turning counterclockwise, right?
I don't know. I don't draw swastikas.
Bullshit, John. You've never drawn one swastika in your life.
I plead the fifth.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You should be wearing a MAGA hat right now.
I don't even own one. I probably should. I should probably get a MAGA hat. Just so I can own the libs. Own the libtards.
I think you need to get the one that you talked about getting the other day when I was over. You don't have to say the red one that said made you.
I don't remember.
Made you look.
Oh yeah, made you look. Yeah,
yes.
That's a good one.
Those would be fun, and that would
be really funny. Made you look. Yeah.
Yeah, made you look.
Someone would like cock their fist to hit you, and they'd be like, that's funny. Yep.
Yeah.
They're like, you're still a Nazi though, and then punch you.
Well, I don't know, John. What do you think about isolationism? Do you think it's a good idea?
I don't think we should be super isolationist, but I think a little bit more is in order. A little bit more isolationist than we are now. But I wouldn't want to go too far that direction.
I think that might be one of those slippery slopes to a police state if we're not careful.
Maybe.
But it would be interesting. It really would be interesting to see this country working as a whole, only focused on this country. That would be the coolest thing ever, wouldn't it?
Sure would.
I mean, if we weren't sitting around
shit together,
right, sitting around having arguments about what's going on in Israel and Palestine, if you really want to know and it's a big concern to you, go there. You're more than welcome to go there and see how things are going and be a part of it. If you want to know what's going on down in Africa,
well, I'm pretty sure in Israel you actually have to be Jewish to go there.
Well, I'm just saying.
I don't think you can just.
If somebody
pay to visit, I don't know.
There's places over there you can go and be closer to the action.
Yeah,
we don't need to have troops over there sending back information. I mean, we just don't need to. Let them hash that out. This argument that goes on over there is bigger than all of us. It's as incomprehensible as the Bible to me. Any of it. It's like, okay, you guys are still arguing about this, and I get it. It's important to you. It's from a religious standpoint, but okay, you're being governed by religion, and that's not really what I don't think Americans want. We don't want to be completely governed by religion the way other places are. But if you want to see what's going on in Africa, or if you want to know what's going on with Brexit, and you want to be up close and personal with it, go see it. But we don't need to be a part of it. We don't need to have our fingers in there. We don't need to be stirring pots. We don't need to be doing any of that. Here, making a difference, right? Focused on us. You know, if you took out all of that shit for our orange friend in the White House, again, I'm saying it right now, live and on this feed, I would vote for a American policy only Donald Trump.
Very nice.
I would do it.
It's amazing to see how far you've come since we first started this show, where you were just like super anti never Trump.
Well,
just never ever Trump, and then
he's
now you're gonna vote for him.
No, I'm not going to vote for him because all of this other stuff will still be there. It's not going to go away. We're not going to get away from foreign policy. We're not going to be able to keep our nose out of other people's business because, sad to say, you know, while we may take our fingers out of their pots and stop stirring them, that doesn't mean we won't be sitting around and when they walk by us in the hall sticking our foot out and tripping them. You know, it's we've kind of got a bully for a president in certain aspects, and you know, it's been always
working out well for him, though.
It's going to always dissuade me. You know, it's going to push me away from him. I want somebody that's kind of got a strong mindset like him, but is not him. You know? And Ivanka is not the answer. I'm not saying that.
No, so you wouldn't vote for a woman? I see how you are.
I would absolutely vote for a woman, as long as her last name is not Trump.
Tisk, tisk.
That's a dynasty we don't want.
You hate women. God damn it, Robert. Can't believe I was sexist for a co-host.
I'm sorry. Can you back up the tape and show me where I said I would not vote for a woman?
It's not what you said.
I would not vote for a specific woman.
Oh, see, you just said it right there.
A specific
and I quote,
woman.
I would not vote for a woman.
That's not a direct quote.
I didn't say it was. It doesn't need to be.
See, you're typical media.
Yeah, it's not like it's hard to do. You just take someone out of context and omit a couple words and boom, totally different sentence.
You're John NN.
John NN. I like it.
Well, that's all my bitching and kvetching I have. I saw that list and I'm like, okay, so this is where we stand. Is he doing the things that I want him to do or not? It's causing me conundrums, John. These are the kind of things that they do cause me to have trouble sleeping at night, getting on these tangents about it, because
it's called cognitive dissonance.
I don't want to appreciate the things he's doing because I hate the man that's doing them. It's such a hard row to hoe.
Yeah, it's called cognitive dissonance. That's what I'm saying.
Define that, please.
Basically, where you hold like two conflicting ideas at the same time. So, like, you hate Trump, but at the same time, you like what he's doing, and so it's, you like what he's doing, but you don't like him, and you're.
So it's a love-hate relationship, right?
In a way, yeah.
Ultimately. So here's what I've learned in 50 years, folks. Love-hate relationships.
Love Trump's hate.
Never work out. They are never going to be long-term. So if that's what this is, John, then I have my answer about my vote in 2020. He cannot have my vote.
It won't be long-term. It's only going to be another 4 years.
I will not vote to continue a love-hate relationship that I have identified. I learned from experience. They don't work. You can't have a love-hate relationship that's going to last or endure. You cannot do it, folks. No matter what you tell yourself at night in the warm little cockles of your heart.
Cockles.
You cannot make a love-hate relationship successful. So on that note, John, I hate you, but I love doing the show with you.
Yep. More cognitive dissonance.
But anyway, folks, I hope you've enjoyed listening to us to ramble on, mostly me, because John doesn't like to give opinions that can be held against him.
I just don't rant all that much.
But you should, John. You do very good when you rant.
If something was to inspire my like passion, then yeah, but that's not easy to do.
Right.
I
So
don't get like
you're
overly
admitting your
emotional.
apathy.
Yeah,
You're welcome to the depths of John's apathy.
that's right.
Apathy
There's,
party of John.
my apathy is as dark as my soul.
That's questionable.
Yeah, maybe not.
That's a pretty deep black to try and achieve. So anyway, folks, if you have some opinions, throw some comments in on this once you watch it. Hopefully everybody will watch it, and we can keep this discussion going.
I hope they don't watch it.
Do we need to be an isolationist country? John, I think it's something that we really are going to have to answer at some point, because I'm thinking it's going to happen. So there's the question for the day. For those of you out there, if you are pro-isolationism, let us know. And if you don't believe so, if you think we need to stay this global panderer that we have become, let me know. Give me a good reason why. Change my mind as to why we don't need to be isolationists here in America and get our shit together. I think it would be a good turn of events for us. John, I'm gonna go and take medicine and pretend like I'm not feeling as crappy as I'm feeling, and I appreciate you jumping on the show with me tonight.
Thought I would do you a favor.
Hey, I believe we've got somebody hanging out with us on Monday night's show. Is that correct?
Yeah, that would be Jay Edgar. Jay Edgar is going to be on our show once again. If you don't remember who he is, he was on our New Year's Eve special. So if you haven't seen that yet, go check it out. Check out his channel, Jay Edgar, one word. And we'll see him on Monday.
Yeah, and keep an eye on his channel. I'll be doing a guest spot. I believe we're recording that on Monday, so that'll be upcoming as well. Jay Edgar's going to give me another place where I can sit and rant about things. But anyway, I'm stepping down from the soapbox, John. I appreciate it. Tell these folks where they can find us once we're done.
Yes, head over to Twitter at the GenGapP. I'm usually on there doing stuff. It's been talking shit posting, all that nonsense.
Trolling, a little trolling every once in a while.
Somewhat, yeah.
All right, it's been real. It's been fun. It's even been a little bit of real fun. So, John, have yourself a good night. Folks, thanks a lot for listening in with us tonight, and we will see you on Monday.
Yep, see you guys.